Hello and welcome back. If you're considering Azure for IaaS, which is IaaS workloads, the first aspect of cloud you will have to understand, design and deploy is networking. As with any other cloud provider, software-defined networking is the foundation of IaaS for Azure. You cannot deploy a workload, which you're about to do in a moment, without first deploying a virtual network, which is what we did a few days ago. However, once you have a network, you need to consider its security and specifically how you control its perimeter and access. When it comes to access control on your virtual network, Azure offers built-in solutions for both network layer control and route control. So what is network security groups? Network security groups function as a network layer control service. So what are they and how do we use them? NSGs filter traffic to and from resources in an Azure virtual network. We will illustrate that in a moment, but combining rules that allow or deny traffic for both inbound and outbound traffic allows granular control at the network layer. They can be viewed as basic stateful packet filtering firewalls. But what does that even mean? Well, first, let's note why they don't do what they don't do. I mean, there is no traffic inspection or authentication access control. So how do they help secure your network? Well, they do so by combining 5 variables into a scenario which you then allow or deny. You can quickly and easily manipulate the access that is possible to your resource. So these variables, or they call it the 5 tuple. Let me try and sketch it out for you. Is you have your priority, you have a port, you have a protocol, you have a source, of course, you have a destination, and you have your access. Okay, so when I draw this line, let's take an example. Priority 100, that's where it normally starts from. I want to allow remote desktop protocol, RDP, Microsoft RDP, on port 3289. Protocol here is TCP. Some protocols may be TCP and at the same time UDP. And it's coming from the source 10.10.10.100. The destination is any device that is in that particular subnet, and the access is allow. Okay, so let's say you have a subnet and there are 2 servers there, or 3, or 4, and you need RDP access to each and every one of them. You're saying that I want this particular machine on my network 10.10.10.100. It might even be a management device. You want it to have access, okay, onto any of these machines, any of these servers, on port 3389, which is the RDP protocol. You can also be specific and say, I want this particular machine only access to machine B, which is, for example, 172.16.b.network, as an example. Okay, so let's actually break this down a bit more so you understand further what these NSGs are used for and why you need them. So I had discovered a very interesting diagram when I was getting ready for this video. And this is actually a gated community. So let's assume the gate is over here. Okay. So this is a gated community, okay? Now, on this side here is the north subnet, and over here is the south subnet. Now let's assume that every building here is a server. So this happens to be SRV1, SRV2, web app 1, web app 2, function app. And over here, so these could be the south subnets, could be even numbers. The north subnet could be odd numbers. So let's start from 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. Well, if it's 2 here, it's 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. So you can see clearly that we have a subnet for the odds network. And then we have, let me try and use a different color here. Then we have a subnet as well for the even. Forgive me, guys, beg your pardon. For the even subnet. But then they are in a geographical area, and that whole area is what we call the VNet. You got it? All right, so this gated community and this particular gate is what you and I would refer to as the NSG. NSG, Network Security Group. So a postman comes in delivering letters to the alt subnets and the even subnets. So when he comes, he's going to check and find out if these addresses or the letters he is holding are for addresses on the street. So let's say the street is called subnets, yeah? So when I come in here, I want to see all subnets is on that side and even subnets on the side, okay? So when I come in here, I have my post and I say everything blue is for the evens, everything purple or pink is for the odds. Now this gate is manned and would recognize that the guy coming here is a postman or posthuman, whatever you might say. And the postman will have these letters, or post person will have these letters and will come in through this door. This door is what you and I will call the NSG. If a different person comes in and wants to come and distribute leaflets, we could say, no, you're not allowed in here because you're not authorized access into our compound. So at the very door, they say, you're not allowed. Now, if the gates were rather placed on each one's drive-through, so let's say that was a gate, or let's say it covers the whole gate. And another gate in here. Okay, that's enough. It means that this postman would have to come and press the bell once, come in here, come and press the bell here, come press the bell there, come press the bell there, come press the bell there, come press bell there. It makes it very difficult because it means that you need not just one person to man this gate, you need another person here, another person there, another person here, and if this one had one too, another person there. So all of a sudden you have security men or what you might call gatekeepers manning different buildings, and you have to pay them. Yeah, pay them money. Okay. So what you do is instead build a strong gate here with advanced security systems to allow or deny who can come in and who can go out and what's not allowed in. Okay, so this brings you and I over to NSGs. Okay, so let's go to our NSGs and discuss a few things. So subnets. Okay, subnets. These are where you keep your secured machines, or let's say your cloud resources, working. And this yellow subnet has a server. This one has, let's say, a desktop, for example. Okay. Now, like from the analogy before, we will need to put an NSG. Let me try and use a different color from what I'm already using here. Try and use a different, better color. We put an NSG, which is a defense, or what you might call a shield. And this shield will now defend the subnets. Okay. So in a VNet, you could have an NSG covering some subnet, another NSG covering other subnets, but depending on how you design it, you have this VNet over here. And it's in traffic coming through to this network must first be filtered against a set of rules. So if the source where this traffic is coming from is known in one of these rule sets, it will be allowed to the required destination. If not, right from the onset, it will be rejected, denied. So as good practice, you will assign an NSG to all the subnets, of course, depending on how you design it, then give different NSGs for different machines, different NSGs for different subnets. So with that said, last time we created a front end and we created a back end subnets. We're going to attach them to one NSG. And then we can create controls from there. What we'll do is we'll create a VM in the backend and another VM in the front end. And at first, without creating any rules, this VM should be able to ping that VM. But then we'll create a rule in the NSG to block that ping, for example. Okay, so come with me, let's go ahead and do this right away. Let's clear the screen and head back to Azure and build our first NSG. So over here, there are a couple of ways to build NSGs. But to make life easy, I'm going to go to search and I'll type NSG. It's not security groups. Click on that, and I'm going to create one. Before that, let me think of the naming conventions. So let's go home, and this was called the first network. So I can call NSG first network, first virtual network NSG, all right, or first NSG, all right. So let's call it same resource group as before, and I'm going to call it first virtual network NSG. Same location as before. Click on create. Validation is passed. Click on create, and we wait for it to build. Takes a few moments and it's done. So NSG is created. When I go into, it says it's created here, but it still says deployment in progress. Well, let's go to it. When I go to NSG, I will by default see a rule set, and I'll see inbound security rules and outbound security rules. On the left-hand side here, and I want to highlight this so it makes life easy for you. we have the inbound security rules, and then we have the outbound security rules. So outbound are those, inbound are these. Okay, and you can see that to allow all VNets inbound is 65,000. To allow load balancers traffic to come in is 65,001. And then to deny inbound is 65,500. Okay, and the reflex is the same. So deny all inbound, 65,000 allow all VNets outbound, which is the same one here, but outbound. Allow internet outbound because when it leaves the load balance, it's going to the internet. That's 55,001. And then deny all outbound, so not allowed across. Okay. All right. So this one thing you must know. You should always know these values. Very important. So when I come to inbound security rules, this is what I see. This is where I will put rules like we saw earlier: priority, name, port, protocol, source, destination, action, or access. I will put these rules in here. So I could say priority 100 and I give it a name. Okay. Port number, we set, for example, 3389 and the protocol is TCP. The source is IP and the IP address. Destination is IP and the IP address, or star for all, allow or deny based on what we want. Okay. All right. But here comes the important bit. Remember I told you that you need to attach your subnets to this NSG. When you go over to NSG, the NSG can be assigned to network interfaces or subnets. So I'll go to subnet here, and I'm going to associate a subnet, an existing subnet, with this NSG. So I'm going to associate an existing subnet with this NSG. So when I click on plus, it's going to give me access. That's why you need to make sure that things are in the right resource groups. And of course, you're under the right subscription so you can see things transparently. So clear this and click on the plus. And lo and behold, I can see a virtual network, okay, in the same resource group called frontend. I'm going to associate this, so say yes. Then I'm going to create another association, and this time I'll say backend-subnet. So visually, what I have is I have this NSG shield attached to subnet 1, to subnet 2, and I've got to put some VMs in here. And then they will all get IP addresses. By default, subnets can talk to each other in the same VNets by default, okay? So that's a VNet, all right? By default, they can talk to each other. But when I have NSG here, if I don't specify any rules, they still can talk to each other. But the moment I specify rules say don't allow these two to talk to each other, they will not be able to do so. All right, so we build a VM and put in the front end, build a VM, put in back end, and at first we will allow them to ping each other. And later on, we would create a rule on this NSG to block traffic between that subnet and that subnet. Okay, do you want us to do this? All right, thank you. Yeah, I saw your hand. Yes, and you too? All right, let's go ahead and do it then. Let's go ahead and build our first VM. So I'm going to go to virtual machines over here, and I'm going to create a very basic VM. Virtual machine. Okay, resource group, same resource group. Okay. Now, before I actually do that, let's actually show you what our assignment now, association of the subnets to the NSG looks like now. So when I go into Network Watcher, I hope it's here somewhere. It's not, so I'm going to look for it. Network Watcher. I'm going to view the topology of my setup so far. Okay, so So this is what it looks like. It looks like the NSG, you can see, has the binding to the backend subnet, or the binding to front-end subnet. So that means that when I am on the internet, for example, and I want access to something assigned to the back end, it could be a database or whatever it is, the NSG will say you're not allowed. But if I'm on the front end and I want access into this subnet, my traffic will come before it gets to this front end here. My traffic will hit here and say, okay, you want to get to front end? Yes, I can get to front end this way. You want to get to back end, you're not allowed, like I said before. But if the front end wants to also get to back end, the front end will say, I want to go via you, Mr. NSG, please allow my access. It will check and say, okay, you're allowed, then it will give you access to the backend subnet. You get it? So that's how it works. Okay. All right. Now let's go ahead and create our VMs. And now we come back and look at what this looks like here. I must let you know the Microsoft changed what this looked like before. It had a different kind of topology, but they've changed the layout, but it's fine. It still works. It works good. So I'm going to go and create a virtual machine now. So let's call the virtual machine front end VM, or let's call it virtual machine. Here's the first one, so let's call it O1. It's in the UK style. We're using the very basic one that we can do pings from. And then let's use the password for this. Username, let's call it, okay. All right, it has an interesting name. Let's put it somewhere. Put a notepad. All right, and a password, I'm going to stick a password in here. Okay, why don't they use our follows up naturally? All right. I'm going to save the details somewhere else so I don't forget. And then it's saying, do you want inbound ports? I don't want any traffic coming from outside of the internet into this VM. All right. So I'll leave it as that for now. And I'll go to this. No thanks. I'll keep it as it is, and let's go networking. This is the crucial part. So this first virtual network is going to be part of the front end. This front end VM. Okay, it's asking you for public IP address. I'm going to say none. It wants the NIC to be part of a network security group, and I'm saying no. Okay, because the subnet already is. Okay, you can always attach a NIC here, subnet network security group here, but I'm going to say no. All right, and of course asking me, can I delete the NIC when you delete the VM? Yes, yes, yes. We handle load balancing? No. Management? You want to shut it off? No. Monitoring? I'll just keep going. Next. All right. So we're creating our first VM, and first VM is called front-end virtual machine 01. We will go and create the backend machine as well. I can see it's in the subnet 10.0.1. It might get 10.0.1.4 as the IP address. And then let's go ahead and create another one for our backend. So whilst this is working, let me duplicate this. It's always prompting me to log in. It's taking its time. But here we are. So once again, I'm going to go to virtual machines, and when I do refresh, it might show me the one that's been built. Okay, it's not showing me yet, it's not done yet. Create another virtual machine on the side. Same resource group. Virtual machine is backend virtual machine 01. Password. I don't want any inbound access to that because I'm not going to jump it from public access at all. Click next. Public IP, no, none whatsoever. That's backend-subnet, okay? Spit that out for me automatically. That's really nice. All right, management, nests, nests, nest, nest, nest. Okay, and we're going to create it as well. So our first VM is done. And it's in the running state, and its IP address, like I said, 10.0.1.4. Our second VM is also creating, and I'm waiting for this to complete. Then we go to the Network Watcher to see what our topology looks like now. All right, so our second VM is also done nicely. And its IP address is 10.0.3.4, two separate networks, okay? Its subnet is backend-subnet, you can see here. And the other one's subnets. It's frontend-subnet, you can see there, with IP address 10.0.1.4. Okay, now these devices, let's see if they can ping each other. Now somebody will say, why didn't you SSH to it? I don't need to do that now. I can go and do run command here. I'm going to run a script here. And our ping is installed here. So I'm going to ping 10.0.3.4, which is the other VM. Try to ping this VM from the first VM. Do run. And I'll wait for it. While it's running, let's go to this VM as well. Let's bring 10.0.1.4. So you go down here to operations, run command, run shell script, and I'm going to say ping 10.0.1.4, which is the other VM, the first VM we created. It's called the front-end virtual machine 01. So once it's successful, you will see that the ping results will show up here in the output. Then that will explain that the two machines can talk to each other by default. Okay. Sometimes this takes quite a little while, so you might be patient with it. In the meantime, let's go here and refresh our topology. Let's expand this. Can I expand this as well? All right, let's bring that over here and expand it as well. Okay. I forgot to turn it around somehow, but all right. Could I? Okay, so the NSG defends the network. It's assigned to the subnet where this guy's NIC is attached to. Remember that the NICs of machines are the ones that are assigned or attached to or associated with subnets, the NIC. So the NIC is network interface card, okay? So you can see the traffic that will hit this network interface card in that subnet must first go through this guy here, our NSG. Now, when I scroll down, it is like saying for the other one as well. So, like the others, traffic hitting this NIC for that VM must also go through that NSG at the top here. Okay, so this is what we call the backend subnet, and of course the other one is the frontend subnet. Frontend subnet, yeah. Let's look at it as a table. Okay, so you can arrange it like a table. That's interesting. This graph. All right. So let's go ahead and see the pings. That's interesting. I did not know if pings not allowed, but it is taking a little while for the script to complete. So I'll put this on pause for a while and then check what's going on. Be right back. All right, guys. So I just don't know what's going on with this VM and the other as well. Try the pings, and I'm not seeing anything on the output. These are very, very, very lightweight VMs. I wonder if they're not able to process this effectively. But a tool that you can use to determine if these machines in these separate subnets can talk to each other is what we call the NSG diagnostics under the Network Watcher. So what I've said is I'm targeting this virtual machine, and the virtual machine I'm targeting is the front end virtual machine. Okay. Now, protocol is any. All right. I'm not being specific. It's TCP. Doesn't matter what. The direction is outbound. Okay. And I'm saying the IP address. Okay. So this is a source type. The IP address is 10.0.1.4 going to 172.16.30.9. Now, this does not exist on our network. So when I go into our virtual network and I go into the subnets, you can see this subnet is 10.0.1.0, backend is 10.0.3.0. There's no 172 here. And so obviously you get a deny. If I did a 10.0.3.4, 3.4, which is a device in this network, 3.4 network, and I do around diagnostics, I should expect the two to be able to talk to each other. Okay, so whether I'm going out from that front end virtual machine or coming in, let's see if I have this traffic. Let's say if NSG allows by default intra subnet communication, and that is allowed as well. I have to figure out what's going on with this run command, but it's not working right now. I wouldn't waste your time. So now that you've seen that your subnets are talking to each other and the topology is showing you everything on Azure sometimes can be a little patient tasking. All right, so I've got this enabled and let's open it up as well. They've changed this layout. The topology looked actually much nicer before. There might be a way to go to a classic way, but I don't see that here anymore. Yeah, so things have really changed in this Network Watcher. Okay, so we will leave that for now, but let's go back to the virtual network. So the virtual network now shows you your subnets, but also shows you your connected devices. Connected, that is a key word. The front-end virtual machine is NIC has 01268. Backend virtual machine is NIC says 01863. These are the network interfaces created which have now obtained IP addresses in the relative what? Subnets. Okay, so every attached device in any subnet within this VNet will be found here. Okay, and of course, that may even include private endpoints, which we'll talk about one of these days. All right, so on the Azure portal, going back to the virtual machine, we have managed to create two virtual machines, one in the front-end subnet and the other in the backend subnet. And both machines are in their running states. You can see them running. Okay, let's look at the other one, and that is also running. Okay, so really thank you for your time, and I'm glad that we could catch up on this. I'll see you on the next one. See you on the next one. Thank you.